So let's talk, gentlemen, about the Xbox Series X selling out. Now, this was running rampant, Crispy Bomb, all weekend long. First, you saw that it was selling out in Amazon. Then you heard from different kind folk that it was selling out in Walmart. Then we got a chance to see, and I don't remember who posted it. It was a pallet of PlayStation 5s sitting there, and there was one Xbox Series X there. Now, some people tried to say that it was fabricated, and we got confirmation of someone's parent that actually works in Costco and says, no, these are selling out. Is the Xbox Series X right now, today, selling out the Call of Duty effect? Because I think it is. I don't think people understand the power of this IP, and I don't think people are really putting the ones and ones together to make two. This is going to be a big year for console sales. Now, again, console sales is what Sony's been using, and we know that in the last couple of quarterly reportings, Microsoft has lost, I think it was 31 and then it was 29. They've been down pretty big with console sales. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that you can literally play their games anywhere, especially on PC. PC Game Pass is a big deal, but this is the Call of Duty effect. It's going to not only show up big here, the showcase is going to sell consoles. And when Call of Duty releases this fall, it is going to move console mountains. What are your thoughts?
I'm not a Call of Duty fan. I think I've said this many, many times. The one thing I'll tell you is that don't mean a damn thing when it comes to people that, the casuals, not the people in the chat, not the people on this panel, the casuals that game. They love Call of Duty. And, Treyarch is one of those that, I think just about every game that has been Treyarch that has done it has been amazing. Okay. For the Call of Duty fans, it's kind of like, I'm Gears. I looked at the Coalition and it was epic back in the day. Okay. And they've, regardless of what people think, I feel they've nurtured the IP. And Treyarch is one of those, and it's a Black Ops. And people are intrigued. And I feel like people aren't understanding that. I think there's going to be a really wholehearted look at yourself moment if you play the campaign. And that's what I'm intrigued about, because their marketing right now is messing with people's heads. And I've watched it on TikTok. I've watched it on Facebook. People are like, when
people
they
are freaked out by that. The Channel 6 news truck rolling around. Like, what is it? What's happening?
Dude, I'm telling you.
Happening? I actually had a friend of mine call me up and say, did they actually deface the statues, the monument? I'm like, no. That didn't really happen. It's just marketing.
I think they're gonna, because it's so far along. I think it should have been called Gulf War, but that was like the nuance of what it was.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like, because that's the start of where we're at now, really, because the misinformation over our lifetimes has been crazy. And I think they're playing into it in a way. And I think it comes down to, like, Treyarch is always quiet. Like, everybody notice that? They don't say a damn word until they say, hey, this is going to blow your mind. You know what I mean? And they've had the time. And I feel like maybe, like, it really doesn't have anything to do with Microsoft, to be honest with you. I mean, this is before the purchase actually went through. I think this is going to push people to say, hey, like, this Call of Duty, it's in Game Pass. They already said it. Okay. Like, Xbox officially said it, people. If you don't believe it, I don't know what to tell you because it's right there in front of your face. All right. They're going to do a whole entire, like, probably I'd say 20 to 30 minutes about Call of Duty. When's the last time Call of Duty done something like that?
I'd say it's been a long time, dude. Honestly.
You know what I mean? Like, I just look, I'm not a fan of Call of Duty, but I have been intrigued in certain stories. Like if EA wants to bring back, Battlefield in the right way, bring back a new bad company. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like have that story that I could play. I could learn how to use the controls again, all those things, and then have a good multiplayer. And I feel like Call of Duty is like multiplayer all the way. Like even they released just multiplayer at certain points. Okay. Like let's get back and understand that there's a story involved and like Call of Duty is a pinnacle. Like I played the original Call of Duty. Okay. Like I played the original Medal of Honor and they were both like meh. And then I played Medal of Honor Frontline, which was D-Day.
Yes.
Which was insane. One of the hardest games I've ever beat in my life. And guess what? Doesn't show up on any achievements or nothing because we didn't have none back then. Just telling you. So I beat it, and it was one of the most emotional and hard games that I've ever played because you had to go through things and do them a specific way because they were staying true to at least part of our history. You know what I mean? And there are certain areas that haven't been touched. And one of them is Desert Storm, all those things. Yep. You know what I mean? Like if you don't do it right, you messed up. It's part of our history. You know what I mean? So I feel like they have something to show. And I feel like this is the time is now. And to bring that in as a part of the showcase, I mean, it's technically after, but I'm sure they're probably going to do the same thing they did with Starfield and get people enticed to watch the latter show in some way. So you're probably going to see Black Ops 6 in the showcase in some way, but like, hey, stay tuned for later.
Or a more deeper dive, if you will. Yeah.
People nowadays are just like, oh, what is happening now? They get enticed by Call of Duty if they don't see any Call of Duty in the showcase and then, not get reminded to go watch after. They're not going to do it. I mean, this is the social media aspect. This is the internet aspect. They have to be deliberate. And I feel like for once they're being smart about it and they're being like, hey, this is happening. Just remember, it's after the show. We're going to go deep dive, but I feel like they're going to throw a trailer in there during the showcase.
Oh, there's no doubt, Crispy. They're gonna do exactly what you said. There's gonna be a trailer. We're gonna see it. It's gonna be gameplay, and stay tuned after the showcase for a deeper dive. And that's what we're gonna get. And it's probably gonna be about 35 minutes. It's gonna give us all of the info. It's gonna give us a release date. And it's going to be a big deal. I think that particular game is going to move consoles. And it's moving Series X consoles now. If, Fuzzy Belvedere, Microsoft does what we've been talking about for the entire year, come the fall, they win Black Friday by dropping a Series S for $200. They drop a Series X for $300 or $349. They come with Game Pass for 30 days, and boom, you are going to have sellout fever. This is going to be a Cabbage Patch situation all over again. Hopefully no one's getting clocked or beat up like they did in the 80s, those moms beating up each other for the Cabbage Patch. If you're old enough, you know what I'm talking about. Basically,
Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah, Tickle Me Elmo. If you know, right? Look, there are some people in the chat here, a lot of people that I've never seen before. I want to say everyone here is welcome. You could be a PlayStation guy or gal. You could be a Nintendo guy or gal. We're here just talking. If you don't believe that the Xbox Series X is selling out, Spider-Man 356 in the chat, who's from Canada, said Xbox Series X is sold out there. Now, he didn't specifically say what store, but the fact that it's sold out in Canada, the fact that it's selling out in Walmart and Costco says that this is actually happening. Call of Duty has the power, and we're now starting to see that come to fruition. Let's talk about it, man.
Well, we kind of saw a little bit of this when the ABK deal was first announced, and we saw people posting at Walmart, some of the Walmart employees saying, "Be careful which console you purchase," kind of thing, because it's now being acquired by Microsoft. And that was like 2 years ago, and there was a run of Xboxes selling out where you couldn't find Series S's or Series X's on the shelf, and it wasn't during them having a limited hardware or limited inventory or anything. It was just a matter of the buzz was about, oh, well, they're buying Call of Duty and they put stuff in their service. So they had a run for like a month or so. I think they were up a good bit compared to the previous year over year kind of deal. But given the holidays, and especially the fact that we see a lot of bundles and things like that, like Xbox has done bundles themselves, and the fact that some of these stores like Target and Best Buy wind up doing bundles around the holidays, all they have to do, like the stores themselves, if Xbox doesn't do it, they'll do it where it's like pick one of these 3 games to get free with your purchase of a console. The Series S is already a low price of entry, and the fact that they're going to have all this stuff in Game Pass, and I know a lot of people will say, oh, you have your digital library at another platform, why would you move over? Well, if you're just doing this as a subscription thing, and you could play and access all of the same Call of Duties that you've had before on this subscription, then you're not really losing that library. And well, a lot of stuff being, cross progression and cross save type of things, at least on the newer ones, you're logging into Activision anyway. So your same account carries over. So it's going to be great to see how well this thing does during the holidays. But, this showcase, I think I won't say it's like make or break or anything like that. I just think it's going to be almost like a flood of new customers. Like, you have to realize there's still a lot of people on the Xbox One. There's still a lot of people on the PS4. If they're finally looking at a chance to upgrade because they're the buy, Call of Duty every year or buy Madden every year kind of crowd, and a lot of those games are, available through Game Pass, where you don't have to necessarily throw the $70 up right at the beginning and the extra 30 and whatnot for your favorite team stuff. I think this is going to be the final push that, well, not really final push, but the big push that Microsoft will be able to make, and the casuals will probably come in droves, just for the simple fact that now they have more of a reason to upgrade to next gen. Because, like I said, there's still a lot of people on the previous generation. The price drops that they'll probably have this holiday, the pack-ins that they'll probably have this holiday.
Yep.
That the big draw of Call of Duty, like Call of Duty is bigger than any of the platforms anyway. So let's be clear. That's enough for people to take notice. And it looks like with these things selling out, it's not like they're running out of hardware or having like constraints on CPUs and stuff. AMD wants to push out as much as they can. They just know that, maybe at least prior, the things weren't moving as much. So there isn't as much demand from Microsoft or even PlayStation to produce more consoles. But hey, maybe that's not the case now for Xbox. And come the holiday, we'll see if there is still this mass selling out, which I think it will be. Xbox is going to have to make sure they get these store shelves stocked as best they can. But just understand, casuals will take notice of this. Us, the hardcore that listen to gaming news and gaming podcasts and are in party chats talking about this stuff on a regular basis versus the casuals, it's going to be a different mindset. And the fact that they can see that they can have access to all of the Call of Duties, even maybe some of the ones that they purposely skipped, like what was the one with the V? I forget what it was now, but
that was not a good one. Vendetta, not Vendetta. Oh my god, I'm thinking about Def Jam.
It was like it was before Modern Warfare. I forget what it is now, but it's one of those things where now they can play it in the subscription without it being like an extra, because Call of Duty games don't really go on sale unless you're buying them secondhand at GameStop.
Right.
Yeah. You might as well just try it through, something like Game Pass. And I think that the fact that it's available on the console, it's on your phone, it's on your your tablet or your PC or through a browser on maybe an older PC, as long as you have somewhat decent internet, it's worthwhile. And I think a lot of people will be willing to give this a try. It's just the one thing I hope that Microsoft or Xbox in general learn is that they have to make sure that not just those that are in the know about Game Pass, but and it looks
There's got
like
to be a
Call of
big
Duty
push
is
for
doing
it.
its own
Sure.
homework itself, but make sure every one of those Call of Duty commercials, make sure you say available in Game Pass, and
Yes.
I think that will take care of itself in the long run. But yeah, it's interesting to see. I'm glad to see that these things are doing well at this point. Between now and the holidays, I expect it to do even better. But yeah, it's always great to have more people join the Xbox family or the Xbox ecosystem. So welcome aboard for those that are new to it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the numbers don't lie. It's selling out. People are reporting it. I don't see that why they would report false numbers. I went myself and checked at a few places, and yes, it was sold out. But listen, at the end of the day, Game Pass, Dad, this is going to be a big deal. This is why they pushed the envelope to get ABK done, to get Call of Duty. I know that everyone's like, "Oh yeah, mobile." Yes, they wanted King. We all know we're all aware of that. But the truth of the matter is that Call of Duty is a legacy IP that moves the casuals. And if there's a way to incorporate Call of Duty into Game Pass, it's going to move a lot of people. And again, no one is suggesting, ladies and gentlemen, that people are going to abandon their libraries. That's not what we're saying. Now, some might. The casual audience doesn't really care. They have their Call of Duty games. If they are a Call of Duty fan and they have, 6 Call of Duties digitally download, well, guess what? One of the big things that no one seems to be talking about is the main fact that Call of Duty, every freaking one of them, is going to be dropped into Game Pass at one point. So you're going to logistically have Call of Duty 1 through current in a subscription service. And the thing that is not foreign in 2024, Game Pass, Dad, is subscription services, because at least everyone, that is anyone, has 1, 2, or even 5. I have like 15 of them. It is not like the casual audience. Yes, they're casuals. We understand that, but they understand subscription services. And if you tell someone that, hey, you can get a $200 box with Call of Duty, and they go and they get it just for the Call of Duty, well, Madden's in there, 2K's in there, FIFA's in there, on top of everything else, plus all of their own games that they're already there and will be released. I think this is going to be a running theme moving forward. What are your thoughts and opinions on the Xbox Series X selling out in certain locations?
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point that not only is the next Call of Duty coming to Xbox, but like all the previous Call of Duties are about to be added as well, which I think Microsoft, like, going back and fixing the servers for the older games is like a pretty big boon for a lot of these casual gamers that might want to revisit it. Like, I mean, a lot of those games don't necessarily hold up, but I mean, the nostalgia factor is there, and there's a lot of people that are going to try it. But yeah, overall, like, just we're still at the very beginning of this entire process of these acquisitions and getting the roadmap of games coming out to where we're actually starting to see the effects. Like, I mean, definitely it's cool that we're seeing the reports of it. Like, I guess we'll wait and see how it really, like, comes to fruition. Like, by the end of the year, like, is there going to be a shortage, or are people going to start trying to scalp them? But like, the fact of the matter is, like we've all said, like, these are the games that actually move the needle for the majority of gamers. Like, the hardcore section of gamers is not necessarily the core of, like, the profit for these businesses, and that's the reason why there are, like, the games that they make and why they do what they do, because casual gamers do move, like, they're the ones that buy consoles, and they might be a little bit more fickle with where they play, or more likely to move from place to place. Because all of us, like, we all own multiple ways to play games. Like, I've got my PC, I've got my Xbox, I have my Switch, and I'm more than happy to, like, play PlayStation games that come to PC when I want to play them. Like, Helldivers has been one of my favorite games this year. So it's like, the games that most people are playing, though, are like you said, like I didn't even realize, like, until you just said it, that you're right. Like you do have the opportunity to play games like Madden and FIFA in Game Pass as well. Like on top of that, we're gonna have Call of Duty. Like that is pretty much like a perfect storm of like the games that most people play, which is like Call of Duty, Apex,
Yes.
FIFA, Madden. Like those are some of the biggest grossing games out there aside from like Grand Theft Auto. Like those are the games that really move the needle for a lot of these companies and keep them afloat. So I think the fact that Microsoft has kind of cornered the market on Call of Duty now, whether you like Call of Duty or not. Like I'm the type of person that back after probably around the Black Ops days, Black Ops 2 is when I really stopped buying it yearly. I was like, I don't really need this yearly. And then when Modern Warfare 2019 came out, that's when I got back into it. But if during that entire time I had the option to play that game as part of Game Pass or a subscription service that I already would have been paying for, like I definitely would check it out. And going forward, now that it's going to be in Game Pass, as long as it's part of a tier that I pay for, which hopefully we don't see any changes to that like right away this year, but we'll see. Um, as long as I have access to it with what I'm already willing to pay for, then of course I'm going to check out that game every year. Like I try and check out like all the major releases that interest me into Game Pass, and like Call of Duty is a game that I grew up with and really spent a lot of time with. So I would certainly give it a shot, and I feel like it makes it easier to bring gamers together and be able to be social around your games if everyone has the same library. So I think it could be a really good thing, especially if like these more casual gamers or people who play with their friends a lot. Like if they see their friends just being like, well, I don't necessarily want to buy Call of Duty, but I can get an Xbox and get Game Pass and I can still play with my friends. Like I feel like it over the course of the next few years is when we're going to really see the impact of this, and this is still just the very beginning. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this holiday season, and I do think it would only pick up if Microsoft can continue to make sure that Activision, like helping Activision make these games as best as they can. Then I really think that it's going to be interesting how things move forward, because this wasn't a play just for immediate Xbox Series X sales. This was a play for the future of the Xbox brand going forward for like every generation going forward. So it's not just right now that we're necessarily like that Microsoft is focused on. Like I'm just focused on playing great games and making content about them. But what Microsoft is focused on is like shaping their service for the entire future that it's around. So I think this is going to be a big step going forward, and like really seeing the impact of like how the subscription service grows, and whether we'll ever see sales numbers again or just monthly active users is going to be really interesting. And I do feel like it could be something that has an impact.